Meet Daunette-Moniz Reyome, a trailblazing Indigenous activist and model, championing the voices of Native American youth and women's rights. Emerging from the heart of Indigenous community, among their voices, one stands out, echoing through the doors of fashion, media, and activism. She uses her platform to address critical issues such as cultural preservation, mental health awareness, and authentic representation. Daunette's advocacy goes beyond raising awareness. She actively works to dismantle stereotypes and fight systemic inequalities. Her passion and dedication not only shines a spotlight on the urgent cultural, social, and political challenges faced by Indigenous communities, but also inspires a movement towards greater understanding, respect, and tangible change. Through her powerful voice and impactful actions, Daunette is So for centuries, Native American cultures have been subjected to suppression through government policies that banned cultural practices, languages, and traditions. This cultural genocide has had devastating effects on Indigenous communities, contributing to issues like poverty, racism, and mental health challenges. This erasure of Indigenous identities and perpetuation of stereotypes have been further marginalized Native American people. So to understand Daunette's journey, we must delve into the early life and the influences that has shaped her. So now, let's look at the historical context through this lens. For centuries, Native American cultures have been subjected to suppression through government policies that banned cultural practices, languages, and traditions. This cultural genocide has had devastating effects on Indigenous communities, contributing to issues like poverty, racism, and mental health challenges. And this erasure of Indigenous identities and the perpetuation of stereotypes have further marginalized Native people of the Indigenous community. So for centuries, Native American cultures have been subjected to suppression through government policies that banned cultural practices, languages, and traditions. This cultural genocide has had devastating effects on Indigenous communities, contributing to issues like poverty, racism, and mental health challenges. This erasure of Indigenous identities and perpetuation of stereotypes have been further marginalized Native American people.
Indian, 800,000 men, women, and children, the survivors of a nation of 5 million Indians, a people hidden from public view and public conscience. Indianness. Being Indian means a refusal to become extinct.
Indian people cannot be white. They have to be who they are. You may teach them, train them to live in the white world, but they must be allowed to remain as Indians and to practice their own religion and philosophy.
So born on the Omaha Reservation, Daunette faced the common challenges of many Indigenous youth. At just 12 years old, she entered the world of modeling, where she quickly recognized the widespread misrepresentation of Native Americans. This realization sparked her passion for advocating for authentic representation and challenging stereotypes.
We do still exist. I wish the world knew that we don't get things for free. We still have to pay for everything just like everybody else does. Not every person who was a Native American had long hair. Not all Native Americans lived in teepees. We don't still live in teepees.
So growing up as a Native American, Daunette experienced first-hand cultural misappropriation and stereotypes, perpetuated in mainstream media and society. These experiences fueled her determination to address these issues and promote a more accurate portrayal of Indigenous cultures. Daunette's early experience with cultural misappropriation and challenges of navigating societal expectations. So Daunette's early experiences with cultural misrepresentation and the challenges of navigating societal expectations as Native American youth ignited her passion for activism. She became dedicated to advocating for Indigenous rights, cultural preservation, and challenging systemic inequalities faced by her community.
One thing I would like to tell our Native youth is whatever you aspire to be when you grow up, your passion, your dream, do not give up. Regardless of your surroundings or your circumstances, do not give up. Myself, I started modeling when I was 11 years old.
Daunette's career in modeling and her involvement in the media provided her with a platform to raise awareness about these issues on a larger scale. Her advocacy work focuses on promoting cultural authenticity, educating the public about Indigenous issues, and empowering Native American youth to embrace their heritage and challenge stereotypes. So Native American communities in the United States continue to confront systemic challenges such as racism, cultural appropriation, and economic disparities. These issues contribute to social inequalities, limited access to resources, and the challenges in preserving cultural heritage.
Not all Native Americans wear headdresses. In some tribes, they don't wear them at all.
In my tribe, we don't wear headdresses, and we never did. Women don't wear headdresses, and you have to earn them.
It wasn't just given to them or handed down to them. You have to earn every feather that makes up that headdress. If you were to buy a headdress, that would be disrespectful because there's no meaning behind it. You didn't do anything to earn it. All you did was pay for it.
Historical injustices and ongoing marginalization impact their societal and economic opportunities. Indigenous cultures often face exploitation and misrepresentation in the mainstream media, fashion, popular culture, etc. Cultural appropriation undermines the integrity of traditional knowledge and spirituality and the artistic expressions of Native American communities. Now let's talk about how activists advocate the issue. First off, raising awareness through media and fashion. Daunette utilizes her platform in fashion and media to raise awareness about challenges faced by Native American communities. She promotes cultural authenticity, challenging stereotypes, and advocates for respectful representation of Indigenous culture in fashion and media. She engages in educational initiatives to foster understanding and solidarity, highlighting the resilience and contributions of Indigenous peoples in society.
Started treating you differently since you started identifying more as a female?
Yeah, a lot of people treated me differently, some kindly, a lot with hate and negativity, but I had to grow thick skin long time ago. And I had to go through a lot of stuff on my own.
Daunette's collaboration with Indigenous leaders, activists, and organizations to amplify voices, share resources, and advocates for policy change that advances societal justice and equity for Native American communities.
My name is Daunette-Moniz Reyome. I am 17 years old and I live on the Umaha Indian Reservation. I wanted to make this film to show the beautiful side of us.
Hey, just be doing that! Don't look over here!
To show people that I'm extremely proud of where I come from, what I come from. I wanted to make this film because I wanted people to see and to hear and to know what we go through, what it's caused by, and how we overcome.
Through her documentary, Daunette addresses critical issues such as substance abuse, cultural preservation, and historical trauma within the Native American communities. The film aims to educate and empower audience to understand the complexities of these issues and support efforts for positive change. If we talk about advocacy and education, Daunette advocates for policy reforms such as addressing systemic racism, promotes cultural sensitivity, and also improves economic opportunities for Native American communities.
Historical trauma was passed down to you.
I think historical trauma does get passed down. I also think resiliency gets passed down. My grandmother, all she knew was our language and her family. And then all of a sudden, she didn't have any of that. As she was told how to pray, how to think.
You guys are criminals! Go get your money somewhere else!
We're standing at the construction site of the Dakota Access Pipeline. It looks like there are at least 3 bulldozers that are, to people's surprise at this moment, actually bulldozing the land.
Daunette's involvement in the Dakota Access Pipeline protest was a significant event showing her commitment to protecting Indigenous lands and water rights. This involvement brought attention to the environmental and cultural threats posed by the pipeline and highlighted the importance of Indigenous activism in environmental justice. So now we're going to be looking at Kent Monkman, a Cree artist and activist known for his provocative and impactful work that challenges colonial narratives and highlights Indigenous experiences and histories. His work emphasizes the importance for reclaiming Indigenous stories and identities through creative expression. Monkman has also been featured in numerous exhibitions and discussions for his critical take and historical contemporary Indigenous issues.
Indigenous artist Kent Monkman is confronting Canada's 150th anniversary head-on with his art. In 1867, 3 British colonies merged into one called Canada, still then a colony, but unified. That's what's marked here every year on July 1st. To Aboriginal people like Monkman, whose Cree First Nation ancestors were here long before European colonizers, that's not much to celebrate.
This has probably been the worst period for Indigenous people. It's this period of modernity. So it's been about erasure, it's been about colonization, it's been about institutionalizing Indigenous people, it's been about the forced signing of the treaties.
History paintings, Monkman calls his works. They mix the style of European colonial-era painting with fierce contemporary Indigenous politics. They're touring the country now as part of a show called Shame and Prejudice.
These histories, these things that happened to Indigenous people were never painted. I mean, there's a reason why they were never painted, because it was not the story that the European settlers wanted to tell.
So in conclusion, future initiatives should focus more on expanding educational programs about Indigenous cultures, continuing advocacy against cultural appropriation, and supporting Indigenous artists and activists. So strengthening these areas will ensure that Indigenous voices and stories are heard, respected, and also valued. Viewers can support platforms like Cultural Survival and participate in local Indigenous events, also by promoting Indigenous voices in media and politics. So by embracing our heritage and standing together, we can transform the future. As Daunette said, our culture is our strength, and our voices will lead the way to a better tomorrow.